Welcome to Networking RX, a podcast devoted to helping business professionals like you enhance your networking skills in order to become more proficient giving and receiving quality business referrals and improving the overall quality of your life and the lives of those around you. The Networking RX podcast is a production of AmSpirit Business Connections, an organization whose mission is to empower business success through networking.
Welcome back to another episode of the Networking RX podcast. I'm your host, Frank Agan, founder and president of AmSpirit Business Connections. I'm not sure what day you are listening to this on, but I know what day this is coming out. It comes out on December 25th. So I want to wish a Merry Christmas to all those who are listening, whether it is Christmas Day or the weeks that follow. Merry Christmas. And while this episode is not about Christmas per se, it is fitting because it is an episode the theme is about giving. And so it's just fitting that it's on Christmas Day. But at any rate, here's an admission to a personal character flaw of mine. A character flaw that's one of a very, very long list of personal character flaws. And in time, I'm sure we'll cover them all in this podcast series. At any rate, here's my personal character flaw. I'm a very hard person to buy gifts for. I know it. I got the trait from my father. Okay, there's another character flaw. I blame my parents for my flaws. Nevertheless, I'm a hard person to buy gifts for. Why? My needs are simple. There's really nothing out there that I've got to have. And if there is, I just go get it. Here's a perfect example. The first year my wife and I were dating, it was coming up on Christmas. She asked me what I wanted. To be honest, I didn't have an answer. It's hard. Sure, I could use things like food and gas for the car, but as for needs and wants, there was nothing suitable that there was nothing on my mind that was suitable that a girlfriend could buy a boyfriend. I know she was frustrated and probably settled on the early relationship go-to, the sweater or shirt or something like that. I'm sure it was great. At any rate, a few days after Christmas, I remember going to the store, probably Target, and I was simply killing time. And I was certainly not there for any particular reason. I tend to not do that. But I stumbled upon a Nintendo Game Boy. Now, it wasn't a great Nintendo Game Boy. It was one of the early models. Nothing great about it. But at the time, it was cool. You know what I did? I just bought it. So thought it was cool. I was playing with it. A few days later, Linda, my now wife and then girlfriend, came over to my apartment, and I was playing with the Game Boy. Of course, she asked, "Where'd you get that?" To which I responded, "I bought it." Her response was immediate. "Why didn't you tell me that you wanted a Game Boy? I could have gotten you one for Christmas." I simply replied that I didn't know that I wanted one until I saw it, and then when I saw it, I just bought it. I know, I've said it, I'm hard to buy gifts for. I have few needs or wants, and when I do, I just go buy whatever. Again, it's a character flaw. We all have character flaws, and that's one of mine. I can accept that. There are worse flaws. That being said, however, I've really been working on this for the last 10 to 15 years. I really want to do a better job of allowing people to help me or buy presents for me. As you see, I had an important realization back in, I think it was 2004, 2008, when my daughter Logan was only 7 or 8 years old. It was Christmas Day, as my wife and I were carefully distributing presents into neat little piles for our 3 eager kids. My daughter then proudly walked over to me and handed me a gift. She was, again, 7 or 8, wrapped as only a 7 or 8 year old could. With a big smile, she says, "Hi, Dad," and she put it on my pile. A few anxious minutes later, we were ready to open presents when it came my turn to open a present. Immediately, my daughter, Logan, was encouraging me, "Dad, open that one," she said excitedly as she pointed to the present that she had handed me. As no one else was lobbying me for me to do anything otherwise, I complied. And under the wrapping paper was a nice pair of leather work gloves. Really a good set of work gloves for doing work around the house, the stuff I like to do. To reveal something, I guess. I'm somewhat handy and I enjoy projects around the house. Nevertheless, Logan was beaming from ear to ear. Before I could try them on, she asked, "What do you think, Dad? Do you like them?" I tried them on and said, "These are really great. I can use these. Thank you. In fact, I have some work to do this week around the house." Again, it was between Christmas and New Year, and I'll use them. Logan just smiled and smiled as we continued to open presents. True to my word, a couple days later, I started on a project of some sort in our house, and true to my word, I wore the leather work gloves. As I began, however, Logan came through when I was working and stopped me and said, "Hey, Dad." And she likely startled me, as she did, probably over the sound of a power tool or me beating on the hammer. But she would ask, "Hey, how are the gloves? How are the gloves?" And she started to beam the same smile as the day I opened the present. "Great, thanks," I replied and returned to work. She asked me the same question once or twice more that day. Then on another occasion, when she saw me wearing the gloves, she would inquire again. Each time, she was smiling away. I realized that Logan got more joy out of giving these gloves to me than I had in receiving them. Don't get me wrong, these were nice gloves. They were gloves, better gloves than I would have bought for myself. It was a special gift, especially considering who had given them to me. Nevertheless, they were just work gloves. If they used them the way Logan wanted me to, the gloves would wear out. However, to Logan, while the glove itself was not special, the gift of it was. She was able to experience the sheer joy of giving something at the holidays, something beyond what might be scripted by a first or second grade teacher. Stemming from this experience, I resolved to be more open to empowering others to help me. I'll endeavor to ask for help from others when I need it. Occasionally, I'll make an effort to let others know when there are things that I can need. I'll do these things not in an effort to get more, although that naturally occurs. Rather, I'll do these things as a means of giving. Through the actions of my daughter, I recognize that by empowering others to help me, I can give them the joy and satisfaction by allowing them to give. The saying goes, it's better to give than receive, and the statement is true. It's true not because giving is the right thing to do, but because there's truly more joy in giving to someone than receiving from them. Think about it. Some of the greatest joys of parenthood or grandparenthood are birthdays and holidays. Parents get so much satisfaction out of watching their excited children open gifts, which are usually toys that the kids will either ignore or break the next day. While parents and grandparents are giving gifts, they're the ones who are taking in the joy. The same is true of a significant other whom you bestow a meaningful gift upon. They get the present, you, however, get from them an incredible delight in watching their reaction. Giving to others is wonderful, and that's why it says, the saying is, it's better to give than receive. However, as you involve yourself in your network, you cannot be and do not want to always be on the giving end. If you're out there truly networking with others, others are going to give to you. They'll give you referrals, they'll give you connections, they'll share thoughts and ideas. They'll contribute to you in ways that you would contribute to them. This is part of the mutual aspect of networking. While networking is about giving, this only means that you have your attitude and habits primarily focused on contributing to others. It doesn't mean that somehow you've corrupted the whole system if someone contributes to your life. Eventually you will and should receive. There's nothing wrong if others seek to do things for you, give you gifts, provide you referrals, or even just lift up your spirits. In fact, in these moments, you have an opportunity to advance yourself from a networking perspective. As much as people enjoy those things that you contribute to their lives, they want to give back to you. By opening yourself to the contributions of others and by graciously accepting them, you offer them the gift of receiving. The gift of receiving is simply giving others the opportunity to feel the joy of helping you. Therefore, as you interact with others and you attempt to identify ways to contribute to their lives, don't be afraid to share with them ways in which they can reciprocate. You should always have the courage to ask for help when you need it. You also need to adopt an attitude that makes you open to the encouragement and compliments of others. We need to get into the habit of sharing with those around us a sense of what types of referrals we want and the people we want to meet. Along with giving to your network, if you do these things, you'll open yourself to receiving from your network as well. At the same time, you give to others the joy of helping you. Thus, this makes the gift of receiving a very real part of great networking. And yes, I continue to work on my character flaw. I've been keeping a list of wants and needs and refraining from just going out and getting things. At least then, I have something I can refer to as my wife and kids inquire, "What do you want for Christmas or your birthday?" I'm still, however, someone with simple needs and wants, so this list is nothing major. It's comprised of small and expensive items such as movie tickets, books, or minor tools. Nevertheless, I keep this list and add to it occasionally simply to enhance myself with respect to the gift of receiving. And to be clear, on that list is leather work gloves. Logan, the last pair wore out. Merry Christmas.
Thanks for joining us on the Networking RX podcast. Please put what you've learned into action today and let us know if you have questions, comments, or ideas for future topics. You can email them to us at podcast@amspirit.com. That's AmSpirit.com. Finally, so you never miss an episode, be sure to subscribe to the Networking RX podcast through iTunes, Overcast, or however you receive your podcasts. Now get out and network with someone.
The Networking RX podcast is the copyright production of AmSpirit Business Connection. All rights reserved.